All right, we are back with Laura Berger, direct from downtown Fort Lauderdale, and I am in Los Angeles. So, Laura, you've got a background of accomplishments that, if you will, are all about human capital. You're not an HR person, but you're a people person, if you will. You're an expert in people. You've got an education in psychology. You've had management and executive positions in global firms, boutique consulting firms. Can you share with us how this has all evolved, and if you will, are you at the point where this is what I always wanted to be when I grew up, type of thing?
Sure. So I think, Mark, the best way to start this is when I was working at Deloitte. I was doing management consulting, and I loved the work that I was doing, but I was dealing with how do I integrate my life and my job and my career. And to give you a sense, I had purchased a house, and it took me over a year to have a housewarming party because I was never there. So that whole integration thing wasn't working for me. And I loved the work that I was doing, though. So later on, kind of fast forward, I continue, in the arena of consulting, I moved to, different corporations and so forth. But there was this sense of wanting more, and that feeling of, well, I am more than my job. So, and I wanted to be spending time with friends and family. And I had a series of losses in my family and my extended family, which then really sat me down and said, okay, so that was the catalyst to have me step away from it all for a while and drop everything, my work, where I lived, put things in a 10 by 10 storage box, and moved to a little tiny village in Costa Rica, which was a life-changing experience for me. And so, I created this opportunity for myself. Now, granted, it was crazy. It was hard to go. Can you imagine going from downtown Chicago, where on your doormat is a FedEx box that shows up, and in Costa Rica, on your welcome mat is a venomous snake that shows up. So
well, that's back to nature. Wow.
So, yeah, right. Back to nature, really back to the core of who I am. Not only am I outside of my career, because I had neglected that. And when I re-entered the market, I didn't say, oh, I'm going to be an executive coach. That wasn't what came to mind. Yet my clients that I was working with, they were telling me, wow, you should really do this, because I was focusing on business and brand strategy, and I was, facilitating at the executive level, and it was turning into one-on-one. And so that at that time, I realized I had the business basis, I had the undergrad in psychology. I wanted to bolster up my, my content and the harder side, the scientific side of study. And then that's what, catapulted me into, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to get my credentials in executive coaching, and the rest is history. And I love what I do, and I'm living life on my own terms and helping others to navigate that as well, especially at those levels. Often when you're dealing with senior executives, they're at pinnacles in their career, and they're sitting there going, how do I make this sexy again? Or perhaps it's time to exit, and that's what I help them do, while at the same time honing their leadership skills and really increasing their awareness around what their barriers are. In fact, I was on the phone with a client today, and I asked her, I said, well, what percentage of that is self-imposed? Of our, and they just laughed. They were like, oh my gosh, so that for me, I love what I do, and the leaders that I work with, they really they yearn for that desire to kind of step back and say, okay, how can I make this better for my organization, for myself, and for my team, and for my family, all of that stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting. First of all, you brought up my favorite word in the whole dictionary is awareness by far. Knowing what's around you, and if I compare it to sports, which I do a lot, and it's all about knowing where to go when you don't have the puck, for example, etc. And you've been a leader yourself, where actually most professionals really like to be strategically in the business and be able to see it rather than being caught up in the busyness of it. And related to our business with respect to talent, we always talk about that part of the branding and part of the talent acquisition is that you actually develop the talent when they're at your company, which helps you retain the talent, which then helps you acquire better talent because winners want to be with winners. Can you talk about some experiences you have where you've emphasized that talent is number one asset, and what you see successful leaders offer the talent that they acquire to all of them be successful together?
Sure. So I actually just put a post on Huffington on my blog regarding this. And I feel that what leaders, when they're attracting and retaining great talent, what they embody in themselves are grit, grace, and gratitude. Yes, and with those three components, look at it as a ripple effect. So as a leader, ask yourself, what does that drop represent that's creating that ripple effect? And sometimes it's grit. Sometimes you need grit. The example that I used is, as a leader, you're faced with difficult challenges, and it can be when someone is not performing at the levels that they need to perform, they are performing at the levels that they're providing value, but they're also very toxic to the organization. Right. And so, to make tough decisions where here you have a critical team member and you're concerned, you're afraid, I can't lose this person. He or she has a big account or whatever it is, yet they're incredibly toxic to the others that are surrounding them. So you need to have grit and grace in really taking that action and exiting someone that is not good for the greater good of the organization, just one little component of it.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and that when you are demonstrating by example, you are showing to these talented individuals around you, okay, yes, absolutely, we want great talent, but we don't want it to be toxic to the environment.
Yeah, I had an example with a client of that where the top salesperson was going crazy, but the rest of the team was losing. And they had to make a decision, and it was a tough decision because the guy brought in a ton of business, and but long term wasn't going to work for them. So, I totally get that. You've got a lot of experience, obviously, working with different executives in different countries as well. I noticed, which probably started when you met the snake in Costa Rica or something like that. But and different cultures and different languages and different experience. And I always loved working with international clients because it shows you that there's different perspectives and no one's right or wrong per se. There's just different perspectives sometimes. Can you share, how you've engaged with executives, how you've coached them, whatnot, to be the leaders they may need to be, and for basically a diverse but very talented, other management people that they work with?
Mm-hmm, sure. I think the biggest piece that we focus on with each other is culture, because when you're working at that international level, you're dealing with many different cultures that are coming in and out of your projects, and so they do things differently. So, for example, in India, some of the team members in India, they don't want to disappoint, so they're never going to say they're behind, or right. So you have to understand where they're coming from and engage in a way that that creates success for everyone, and not take offense to, well, just tell me if you're behind, if you're right. So it's creating workarounds. And the interesting, okay, so I don't know if you've heard any of Tara Brach, but Tara Brach, she does this talk on golfing with monkeys, and what this is back years ago when the British colonized India, they wanted some leisure activities, so they created this golf course. And what they didn't account for is there were these monkeys that kept coming onto the golf course and stealing the golf balls. So first they tried to capture the monkeys, and that didn't work. Then they tried to feed them bananas and so forth. That didn't work either. And then they tried to, create walls and, figure that out, and that didn't work. And so what they ended up doing was they changed the game. They said, well, wherever the monkey drops the ball, that's where you play. So you can kind of surmise, like, what that says. It when you're dealing with different cultures, it's not your way or the highway, and this is how we do it here, in the United States or in Hong Kong or wherever. It's really creating flexibility and adaptability to come to solutions.
It's interesting because it even teaches you, among the obvious stuff, it even teaches you at home in your own business, that infamous word pivot, about how you have to stay focused. It may sound contradictory, but while you're being focused, you have to be able to pivot at the same time. So that's fast. I would be probably, golfing wise, I'd be as good as the monkeys. So I just want to put that in there. But it's a great example. Go with the flow. And seriously, I had a client really quick that had an issue. They were based in London, had an issue in Italy with an employee, and the employee, the management of the Italian division called the CEO in London and asked what to do, and they talked about what would be the best way to do it, but the CEO told the management leader in Italy, but I need you to do it the Italian way.
Uh-huh.
And so there you go. And it got done. So it was pretty fascinating. So I want to ask you a few, personal questions. Not anything that would embarrass your husband, but personal questions.
Okay.
And I know this answer for sure, but you have a pet, right?
Yes, 3.
3 pets.
2 cats and a dog.
Gotcha. And I know one of your cats was ill recently and whatnot, but it's getting much better.
Yes.
Cool. We're looking at starting a series called, it was going to be called Executives and Their Pets. We've changed it to Pets and Their Executives, basically. And it all started when during one interview I saw the door open and a nose came out, and before I knew it, this dog was on the guy's lap where he was being interviewed. And she said, you should do something like that. So we're working on it. So everybody send us pictures with their pets and do a whole series on that. But do you have a favorite activity or sport?
I like to walk to the beach. That's pretty much it. I mean, I'm incredibly active. I've played lots of sports, but I would say my consistent thing is I like to walk to the beach and just kind of take it all in. I don't hang out in the sun and tan or anything like that. I just more sit on a wall. I love to hear the ocean and look at the palm trees, and that's why I moved to Florida.
I miss my Fort Lauderdale house. It was right near the beach there on the intercoastal. I do miss that. Do you have a favorite movie or TV show or anything like that?
Oh my goodness. Favorite movie. My favorite movie is Parenthood.
Ah.
I think it's just hysterical. I know it's old, but I love it. And television, I actually love Big Bang Theory. I love that show.
It always tells the tale when I ask that question. Okay. Do you have a favorite book?
A favorite book? Well, gosh, there are quite a few books that I really enjoy reading. I mean, for leisure or for like personal development, like
I'm
what?
supposed to be asking the questions, not you. You can. Well, it does. I know you have many, obviously, right? But how about, let's go a little bit easier. How about favorite music and food?
Okay. Favorite music. I'm stuck in the 80s. I love Duran Duran.
Awesome.
I love Sting. I love music. There's all kinds of music. I love country. Love country.
All right. Not Marie Osmond, a little bit country, but other country, right?
other, more Matt Paisley, Keith Urban, the newer modern country.
And unfortunately, David Bowie just passed away, so that's a shame.
I love David Bowie. I actually tweeted about that because I had lovely, fun memories. 80s, right? Love
Oh,
it.
yeah, there was a leader in his own right. How about food?
Uh,
Favorite food?
food. I think that my favorite food is Japanese.
Also, and with that, I thank you for participating, and we will talk to you again soon.
Great. Thank you so much, Mark. Have a wonderful afternoon.